Good morning, Paul Lennon here from Guatemala. It's a little cloudy here. Good morning to all of you. I'm reading from my autobiography, and we're at Leaving the Legion of Christ. This is video 29 in the series of these readings and commentaries, and we're going to be looking at covering chapter 11 and part F. We still haven't got through this chapter. It turned out to be longer than I had expected. The last time we spoke, I left you with some poetic words. Floundering flight, no end in sight, no harbor light beaming bright, lightening my plight. But thank you, Jesus, for this book. Bless you, friend. Why did I not listen? As I say, why did I not listen to people who tried to dissuade me from joining the Legion of Christ? And why was I just asking myself these very hard questions? A friend of mine said that they were too hard, and they may have been because of my circumstances. But that's what I was doing in 1985. I was asking myself these very hard questions. They may have been exaggerations, so I want to put them in a broader context that I started doing before. Uh, uh, I was using these hard expressions, choosing without deciding, being hard on myself. And I'm going back now to that French word for the cult, for the sect, for that group that takes over your life. And as I said before, it's called l'emprise. And I was trying to look for a good English translation, and it could also be like it's like the enchantment, and it also means being under the spell, and therefore it means being bonded and being bound. It can even mean in French enslaved. So the title of the book in French, which was De l'emprise à la liberté, it could be translated as from enslavement to freedom. And now some people ask themselves this question, some personalities, and I know some, how did I allow myself to be deceived? And that's the hard question they ask themselves. And they find it very hard to overcome that. They even find it hard to forgive themselves. And this has been treated by International Cultic Studies Association and by my great friend, my dear friend, Carol Giambalvo. Remember Giambalvo? She has an Italian name. She's an American woman who was in a cult in her younger years and spent the rest of her life helping members to emerge and certainly and to get back their life. So she explains in the first session with ex-members, she explains that hard question. How did I allow myself to be deceived? I remember, um, I remember telling you how Brother Feeney said, "Why should you join this foreign group instead of this well-known Irish group?" Another friend of mine said, "Don't join that Mickey Mouse organization." See what I'm saying? And but I was blind to that. I did not listen to any of those things. I was deaf to those things, perhaps to that certain voice of reason. And that is because the group uh, cast a spell over me. So this is how it explains. And Carol and other people will say, uh, why did I join or how did I join and how did I let this happen to me? And she will say in her wonderful, gentle voice, which is what very often we need, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I'm not going to go into this in any depth at this particular time. I gave you the referral, refocus, may still be in existence. It was founded by Carol John Balbo, and now she's passed it on to other members of ICSA. So look into International Cultic Studies Association and Recovery. First of all, I want to begin by I'm halfway through it now in 5 minutes. Say hello to my wife, Ora, who is separated from me now because of the coronavirus. And now Guatemala has stepped up its lockdown policy. And it's going to be even harder for Ora to get back to Guatemala or for me to fly out to the US of A. So I'm sharing our little hardship with you. Um, And my friends in Ireland too, I'd like to, what did I say? Send out a shout to the Irish, who would certainly say now that in a good old Dubliners, they would say that this tale of yours, Paul, it's the 40 verses of the hairy halfpenny. That's what we used to say in Ireland, in Dublin, in my time, when there was something that went on forever and ever and ever. Like these unending series that we get. Uh, what was it, Heartland? Forgive me. But the 40 verses of the hairy halfpenny. Where did that come from? I do not know. So hello to my sisters in Ireland, to their husbands, my brothers-in-law, my nieces and nephews, and now it's my grandnieces and grandnephews. I hope some of you are seeing this because, my goodness, this is your Uncle Paul here, sounding off with his tale of what is it called? Uh, uh, Lectionary tale. I'm not sure what the right word is. Forgive me. Yeah, hopefully a moral tale, a tale with a moral to it, with a happy ending eventually. But keep up the struggle. I want to encourage you. Try to be hopeful in these difficult times. Don't harm yourself, please. I'm begging you, and I can beg when it's thinking about these things. And by the way, my face is all kind of full of blotches. That's because my dermatologist gave me new ointments and creams, and she has the face burned off me as we speak. Okay, so thank you. Uh, so this all of what I'm saying, it's not just referring to the Legion of Christ and the Regnum Christi. It can be helpful to any person uh, in or leaving or left what could also be called a harmful relationship. So it can be a marriage, it can be an affair, a liaison, whatever you want to call it. Trying to coming out of that. What do they call it now? A domestic violence situation. All this could be applied to you, servatis servantes, as I say, with the necessary accommodations. All right. But it can be any kind of destructive or harmful relationship or group you were, are, or have been involved in. And as well as the groups I already mentioned, this also goes for the Opus Dei. As I've told you before, I've written a book about this. I don't know where it is recently, about questionable groups in the Catholic Church. Because my particular piece of the pie here is that these harmful groups exist not only outside the Catholic Church, but inside the Catholic Church, and not only in weird groups, but also in kind of mainstream groups approved by the Holy See. This is my particular contribution to the discussion. So I may be breaking some ground here with you, or breaking some icebergs, because the resistance is very strong. I mentioned the Focolarini, not me, but other people. And now we have the latest, forgive me, crazy Catholics, the heralds of the gospel. Arautos do Vangelo. I hope I'm saying it well in Portuguese. Hello, Felipe. There we go. The what are they called? Heralds of the Gospel, Heraldos del Evangelio in Spanish. I've studied a lot of other groups, people I know well. Miles Jesu, I think that was Andy Sullivan. I haven't got everybody in my brain at the moment, but as I say, it can be useful for many people. And what happened? Now let's get into the reading. We have very few moments left. So this 11 is taking forever. Confession in Merida. On Sunday, January the 27th, 1985, I left Ireland, flying from Dublin to London, and I believe that's where they stole my books. I left them outside a toilet in London at Heathrow Airport, and there was 100 sterling gone down the toilet, shall we say, as I was using the toilet. And from there via New York to Mexico City. I keep coming back to Mexico. On Monday, I checked into the Hotel Bristol, said more goodbyes to Mexico City friends, recovered some very personal writings from my friends in Mexico City, and left for Merida, where I was received by the Conde Medina family on February the 2nd. That will be an important date for me in my recovery. Merida, Yucatán, called the White City by the locals, La Ciudad Blanca, 4 hours from Cancun and 2 hours from Chichen Itza, had always been my friendly place. On previous visits, I occasionally checked out the Church of the Third Order, sitting in at Mass to hear the Padre preach. Despite its name, the parish was run by Jesuits. I had scouted out this Padre before going to see him. I'm a priest and I want to go to confession. Father Manuel López smiled in a brotherly way, patted me on the shoulder and said, dismissing the confessional, let's sit down in the private parlor. So very brotherly, brother priest. That was scary, but I was so beat up it didn't matter. I opened my soul. So another therapy session with the Padre. He listened patiently and at the end very unceremoniously exclaimed in colorful Mexican, "Estás jodido y encabronado." Priest shouldn't say those kind of, you're fucked up and raging mad. So you're screwed up and raging mad. Thank you, Padre, for that wonderful diagnosis. A most unlegionary summary. But the prophet had spoken. The 3 Conde Medina sisters, Lili, Diana, and Mashi, gave their depressed and anxious friend hospitality and introduced him to a psychologist, thus facilitating my very first ever therapy session. On February the 3rd, I unburdened my heavy heart to Alfredo Reyes Sandoval, R.I.P., an ex-Maris brother, for 4 hours non-stop over a cup of coffee in a quiet corner of a city center restaurant. Later, the Condes invited their troubled friend to the family beach house in Progreso. They remember how I sang compulsively as if singing out the blues in their van, the van of freedom, and later walked along the beach so agitatedly they could not keep up with me. They told me later that my engine could not stop running. So this is what you call agitated depression. Do not diagnose it, as some people make a mistake here and they diagnose you for anxiety. Giving you tips here. This is agitated depression. Please pay attention. One of them remembers that after dinner, I kissed her goodnight on the tip of her nose. She will never let me forget how surprised she was that a priest would do such a thing. Maybe she was getting off lightly. This was the guy who had almost punched Father Maciel in the face. Anyway, Paul the priest went to his room, and she, the married lady, went to hers. After a rest on the beach at Progreso, I made my way back to Cancun. Bye. See you later.